Okay, I think we have a critical mass, so we can probably start, and people will keep joining while we welcome everybody to this digital solutions webinar. This is the Q4 Enterprise Bidding System update. It will be the last of the year as we're heading towards Christmas break and New Year's Eve and well-deserved break for everybody. So we're very happy to welcome you today, and for this webinar which is hosted by the Initiative on Burning Resources, which is overseeing the digital solutions unit, itself developing and maintaining the enterprise bidding system. Welcome to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. We have a pretty packed and interesting agenda today. The objective of this webinar is to take you through the latest updates on various elements of the enterprise bidding system and to explain how you can make the most out of these updates for your work. So we will go through general information, the global user support, administration tools, workflow engine, trial experiments, phenotypic analytics, molecular data analysis, other improvements, and at the end of the session, there will be a Q&A for you to interact with the experts that are presenting today. All of these experts are part of the digital solutions team and working tirelessly to develop the enterprise bidding system and bring further improvements on a daily basis to this tool, which is the CGIAR preferred bidding data management platform. I want to welcome you again and give the floor to Marco for some welcome messages and general information.
Thanks, Julie. Welcome, everybody. My name is Marco Kärkkäinen, and I'm the operational lead of Digital Solutions. Like Julie mentioned, I wanted to have this webinar now just to share information about our work from the recent months so that people are aware what's going on in our end of the world. Next slide, please. So you saw the agenda already, so there's different topics about different areas of our work, and different people are presenting them. And when and if you have something that you want to ask, use the chat. And like mentioned, we have the Q&A session at the end. We rehearsed this session, and in rehearsal it took 15 minutes to complete. So we have plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. But thank you, and I hope you enjoy the ride. Next slide, please. So as you might know, CGIAR has been going through some structural changes. So this year we have been part of the Breeding Resources Initiative, and going forward, we will be part of the Breeding for Tomorrow's area of work on support, I think. The names change, the mission, the objectives doesn't. I mean, they are refined, but we are here to provide the shared services to our customers so that they can be better at their own jobs, and especially, of course, on the data management when we are talking about the digital solutions. Next slide, please. Yeah, go on. Thank you. So, digital solutions. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. This one. So, we have three main activities that we do. We listen to our customers and try to understand their business needs. That's in essence the business relationship management, the purpose, so that we would truly understand what they need from IT, so that we can then provide solutions for them that makes them more efficient and utilize the data for decision making and be more data driven. And when we have understood the needs, the business needs, we usually create a project around that so that we can build the solution that they need. And that's where the solution engineering and innovation team activities kick in. There are a large number of engineers that are very, very good at their jobs, and they then build the solution that the customer needs. And then usually those those solutions are solutions. So we provide the solutions to them through cloud. So then we have the solutions enablement team that provides that part to the customers. So it's a full circle from end to end, and it's never ending story. And currently we have a couple of services that we provide, the EBS enterprise bidding system that we are going to talk about here. But then we are building services around our expertise in the cloud engineering. So they customers that lack that resources or know-how in that area can ask that from us, and we are more than willing to provide that to them. But yeah, that's about from me for now, and I turn over to the global user support next. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. So I'm May Salian. I'm currently overseeing all adoption projects under the Global User Support, or GUS, and also managing the migration process under these projects. So I and Ruth will be presenting the GUS part, and I will be giving updates on the adoption, migration pipeline, and general support. So for the adoption in Q3 and Q4, there are three main projects. So as you can see from here. Here I also listed some of the key activities that are still remaining or ongoing. So relating to migration, we focus on transferring the MVI, or the minimum viable information data, which is critical for enabling user to start using the system. With the migration of MVI being completed, the next steps will be migrating the historical experiments and plot data. Regarding training, I have only listed here the end user training, which is designed to ensure smooth adoption and system usage. For SIAT forages, they have finished their end user training in Colombia 2 weeks ago. For the DCP, or the dryland crops program, they have deferred this end user training to happen in Q1 of 2025 with the hope of including all their NARS partner to join a more comprehensive end user training. Lastly, the configuration. So the configuration involves a lot of things in the EBS, but this I have listed here the most important one, which is the Harvest Manager requirements, with the goal to document opportunities for implementing automations. So the configuration for DCP is almost complete for the next sprint, while the configuration for SIAT of forages is expected to be completed through the Knowledge Exchange Program, which is a project under BRS. So in January, the data manager and their bidder will come and visit Erie, with this visit focusing on further defining their harvest and other workflows to align with the EBS components. So a typical standard migration process involves the ETL, or the extract, transform, and load process to transfer data between systems. In our adoption migration approach, the extract and the transform steps are performed directly on the legacy server using stored procedures and views. BMS transformations are completed, and the same method will be employed to breed-based and Phenom-1 data models. So the load phase, which involves transferring data between different database servers and platform, will be managed using the Apache NiFi. The migration process is divided into two data classifications. First is the MVI, or the minimum viable information, which includes data that are essential to allow users to start using EBS. This will enable the users to be able to create experiments. And the next classification is the operational data, wherein historical experiments, phenotypic, and other data will be migrated, and this data will be consumed to support deeper analysis and decision making. So there are two main flows in our migration pipeline, which is data is extracted and loaded directly to EBS, or data is extracted, reviewed, and curated by the data manager and reader before loading to EBS. So the goal of our migration pipeline is to achieve 80 to 90% automation, if not full automation. And that is through the use of NiFi. NiFi development is being managed by the EIS, or the EBS Internal Service Team. This slide illustrates where the NiFi processes will be integrated within the migration pipeline to automate data transfer and processing of tasks. So in loading data, there are two main use cases, which is inserting to a new EBS database or inserting to an EBS with already production data. So the green NiFi processes indicate that these steps are either completed or currently being done, while the blue one are still under research if possible to be achieved. At the beginning of 2024, we had 3 crops and 3 instances, which are rice, wheat, and maize. But the enhancement of our migration processes enabled us to add 2 more crops in Q2 and then more than double the total number of crops using the EBS by Q4. Specifically, the additional instances are legumes that hold 2 crops and DCP, or dry land crop, that houses 6 crops. You will see from this slide the number of registered users and the number of programs or teams for each instance. This exciting expansion in EBS utilization requires enhanced support from the general support, training, and documentation team. EBS is in active use across 20 countries. A regional support network was organized by the general support team to facilitate support for routine usage as well as further feature enhancement. As the EBS expands, empowering crop and institutional data managers to provide first-line support is a key activity of the GOS. While the general support team organizes the regional support network, it remains available to assist crop data managers, EBS users, and the general public through the EBS support desk. Since the Q2 release, over 400 tickets have been submitted to the EBS support desk, or commonly known as ESD. Our dispatch agents are available to respond during all working hours, Monday through Friday, across 3 regions. Crop-specific curation tickets are rerouted to crop and institutional experts within the regional support network. GOS dispatchers handle other critical types of issues, including answering general questions and creating accounts in the demo environments for the public. We are pleased to report that our team has received positive feedback from individuals who have responded to the ESD survey after submitting tickets. Now, may I call on Ruth to discuss about other GOS process.
Thank you, Ate May. So, good day, everyone. I am Ruth Carpio, and I represent Digital Solutions under EBS. Before diving into today's updates, may I invite you to participate in a quick survey. Okay. So please click the link in the comment section or you go to menti.com and then type in 6638-5619 or just simply scan the QR code on your screen. All right. I hope everyone is there. So just kindly click next. Right. We'd like to know your current location. Just type in your country. You can see Philippines, France, India. All right. So while you're typing in there, and if you're finished, just click next. The next question is the institution or company you represent. Please use abbreviation. I see CIMIT, ERI, CARDA, CG. All right. Once you're done, just click next. So next question, what is your preferred month of availability for EBS training in 2025? You can type in 1 or you can type in 3. So thank you. So thank you for joining the survey today. Today, alongside with May and Simon, I'm excited to present the achievements of the EBS training and documentation team. The Enterprise Breeding System, or EBS, has made remarkable strides. Slide, sorry. All right. So the Enterprise Breeding System, or EBS, has made remarkable stride in driving user engagement and awareness. Here's a brief overview of our accomplishments. In the second half of 2024, we conducted 8 training sessions, including 2 end-user adoption workshops for breeding teams at IITA Soybean, Zambia, and CIAT Forages, Colombia. So their photos are on the top. 2 Train the Trainers, or TTT, online workshop in July and November for crop data managers and support staff from CIMIT, CIAT, IITA, and Africa Rice. So you may see their smiling photos below. All right. So we are also thrilled to announce the upcoming EBS Academy framework, complete with Level 1 course outline starting in Q1 of 2025. Enrollment will be open via the BR Learning Hub, so stay tuned for the updates. We also have some trainers who joined in CTH T&N digitization training across Senegal, Uganda, Nigeria, and Zambia, focusing on EBS seed inventory management, printouts, and data collection. Altogether, these initiatives totaled 76 training hours with 147 participants from diverse institutions. Right. On the digital engagement front, our EBS user resource space has recorded 6,861 views since July of 2024. Key highlights includes EBS production release notes viewed 130 times with 77 anonymous viewers, signaling an opportunity to foster deeper user commitment. The EBS user guide and overview with 1,453 and 1,769 views respectively underscore their importance as comprehensive reference tools. EBS video tutorials with 1,227 views reflecting the demand for accessible learning tools. This metrics not only highlights our successes, but also emphasize the growth potential of EBS. By enhancing resource visibility and fostering a feedback-driven culture, we aim to deepen user engagement further. Looking ahead, we are excited to unveil a new look of our landing page for EBS user support. So that's on the left side. This platform will simplify access to key documents and videos and promote active engagement to transform occasional users into regular stakeholders. So you can find more user guides by scanning the QR code below displayed on your screen or accessing the link we'll share after this presentation. We encourage your feedback and invite you to share questions or suggestions via our support portal, accessible through the QR code below, or you may email us at support@ebsproject.atlassian.net. Thank you for your attention. Now I'll hand over the presentation to Marco.
Alrighty, thank you, Ruth and May. Can we move to the next slide? So yeah, as you could see on those previous slides, our ambition for this year really was to grow as an organizational unit and provide solutions to the broader range of customers, and that has been accomplished by providing data migration tools. So we have an adoption process because there's always the legacy that is used. So we need to be able to migrate the data from legacy system to EBS and train the new users and train the trainers and so forth. And we cannot train people if we have documentation. So it's a big package that was just presented on those slides. In addition to that, of course, we want to improve the system, and the next 70 slides is about that what I've been doing in the tools that we are providing through EBS. So any kind of system, of course, has admin tools, and I was looking at the participant list right now that we have perhaps 64 participants right now, and I think there are perhaps 3 administrators. So this slide is for you guys. Just to summarize that, any kind of system, of course, needs admin tools. Admin tools means that what are the programs, what are the organizational units, who belongs to these programs, what are their roles in these organizational units, and so forth. And admin tools have been built, they are operational, but like in every tool that we have, we want user feedback from our end users. So the admin has provided us feedback regarding, for example, contact relationship manager. And for that particular tool, we have provided a little bit of improvements and bug fixes along the way. So admin tools have been updated, some but a little bit more. And for example, the printouts, which is a solution that we are using to design different kind of printouts, like field tags, stickers, different kind of reports and whatnot. We've spent considerable amount of time to create a lot of printouts on outcomes, which I will mention on the next slide. But in addition to that, we want to empower data managers and the admins on the institute. So we provided training sessions on how to use the printout tool so that they can design their printouts by themselves, so that we don't have to do it for them. So there were training exercises done during the year. Next slide, please. So I wanted to mention this workflow engine because I think that in previous webinars and information sessions, we haven't mentioned the importance enough. The challenge that we have is that we have broad range of customers. So we have, for example, breeding programs from maize, from rice. We have institutes like IITA, like Africa Rice. They all have different requirements. And for engineering team, it's very challenging to build something that is fit for purpose for everybody. The business processes are different, and we wanted to tackle that. So that and that was the idea behind to start to build the workflow engine a few years ago. And we think that right now we have the workflow engine is so mature that we can really start to utilize it more and more. We took a couple of quite complicated business processes as a first processes that we want to model with the workflow engine. And those were outgoing shipments. So outgoing shipments means for us that the breeding team that is conducting experiments, they are conducting those experiments on different sites, so different geolocations. So material needs to be transferred. The seeds needs to be transported to those sites. So that's what we call an outgoing shipment. And if you think about shipment, if you order something from a web shop, you order it, they package it, and it comes to your local post office and you pick up the package. Easy peasy. Well, outgoing shipments in different organizations in CG are completely different. That's what we learned. And for that reason, the medicine for that is the workflow engine. We have a very, very powerful workflow designer that I try to show on the right side of this, where we can configure the workflow. What is the information that it needs to be inputted? What are the steps that needs to be gone through in this workflow? And what are the reports, for example, that we need to be able to produce in different steps? And the maturity level right now is at that stage that we expect that the IRRI and CIMMYT will truly start to use those outgoing shipments in their operations. And of course, the work continues next year when we get more feedback on the designer from the users, because in addition to that, we have built the workflow engine, we have also trained the data managers of these institutes on how to use the designer, so that when and if there needs to change something in the outgoing shipment at IRRI, they can do it by themselves without us to do it for them. And it enables also them to design workflows that they are conducting in their service operations, like incoming shipments and so forth. So that's about it for workflow, and then I turn over now to trial experiments. Thank you.
Thanks, Marco. And hello, everyone. On behalf of the entire software engineering team, particularly the core building team, I am Jaziel, leading the software engineering and innovation team under Digital Solutions Unit here in EB. And it's a pleasure to share with you the latest updates for the trial experiments capabilities. So as an overview, this is the complete breeding cycle, and these are the associated tools for each breeding activity. So for this Q4 release, in planning activity, we now have the new tool or capability, the Breeding Program Manager. And for post-harvest, we have the new data collection post-harvest tool and new features and improvements in the other existing capabilities. So introducing the Breeding Program Manager, which is a new tool that enables users to browse and view experiments within the program together with the pipeline information where the experiment is mapped. So this tool enables the user to map experiments to pipelines that are created and managed in the CGI-AR breeding portal, enhancing interoperability to other platforms. The CGI-AR breeding portal using program management platform is used to specify the CGI-AR breeding pipelines and market segments. And EBS interoperates with the portals by pulling the pipeline information from the portal via API endpoints. Then in EBS, experiments are mapped to the program management platform identifiers, which enables the creation of standard reporting per pipeline and per breeding program. So for experiment creation, this tool enables users to organize and create experiments, outline field management details, and identify tasks conducted within a certain season. So a new experimental design user interface is implemented for non-sparse and sparse testing. So this new interface uses parameter sets that allow different designs for occurrences within the same experiment. But please note that the experiments created using the new design interface does not yet support the adding of occurrences, regeneration of design, and copy experiment. So this new interface is now using the new event-driven architecture technology to support design requests for non-sparse, partially replicated with manual assignment of entries, non-sparse, any design with random assignment of entries, and sparse, any design with a manual assignment of checks and number of replications. And apart from these new capabilities, and bug fixes implemented, and some of the key improvements are, first, users can now view the reason why the randomization failed, so users can update the parameter sets accordingly. And users can now view the problem in the uploaded randomization file, like for instance, the missing required fields or columns. So moving on, the next capability is Experiment Manager that acts as an orchestrator and enables users to browse and manage occurrences and locations. So there have been a couple of improvements and fixes, and the key updates we want to highlight are, first, in update occurrence feature, users now have the option to view all occurrences within an experiment and update its metadata. So users can now also update the location name of the occurrence where it is mapped in this view. And the contact person is now integrated in the contact relationship management, or CRM, in core system, retrieving all the contact records saved in CRM. And in line with the updates in experiment creation, to have different designs for occurrences within experiments, in the experiment manager data browser, the design is now retrieved and viewed for each occurrence. Lastly, for experiment manager, one important update is applying the role-based access control in all its functionalities, which enhances reliable data sharing. So for the next capability, for data collection, which allows users to upload collected data, validate, compute, suppress, and commit data to make it available for analysis, we now have the new feature, the BRAPI-enabled fieldbook. So the access has been improved for easier login. So users can now log in and connect to fieldbook via BRAPI. And the confidential germplasm information like the pedigree are now excluded, and only relevant data are shared via BRAPI. And users can now directly import fields, load traits, collect and sync data directly to EBS. So no file transfers needed. New endpoints were implemented to support the fieldbook synchronization, and sync data appear in the data collection tool for trait data management and quality control. And another new feature is the post-harvest data collection tool. So this tool allows users to collect post-harvest data from data collection devices and directly store it in EBS. So users can scan QR or barcodes or manually enter plot ID to load the data fields, then save post-harvest plot trait data and other relevant information, and print tags and labels using available templates in the printout manager. And the role-based data visibility is in place, ensuring the collaborators see only relevant fields. For the last capability, so Harvest Manager, which allows users to record harvest data, harvest from process, self-process, and plots, and create new germplasm and create lists from the newly generated records. So this tool has been refactored to make it configurable so it can easily support and handle additional harvest use cases for different crops. Please note that this will be for further testing and improvement, but it can now support other crops such as cowpea, soybean, chickpea, finger millet, and so on. For the other key updates we want to highlight in Harvest Manager, so users can now mark occurrences that have been harvested completely. So the occurrences will have the harvest completed status to indicate that the harvest has been completed for the occurrence. And the role-based access control has been applied, so users must have occurrence permission, harvest occurrence permission in their role, and users should have the right permission to the occurrence. And lastly, more data such as female and male plot and entry numbers and codes, additional occurrence and germplasm information are added in the printouts data source to include this information in the templates. That's all for trial experiments. To share the updates for breeding analytics, please go ahead, Aline.
Hi everyone, thank you, Giselle. I am Aline Julius from EBS Breeding Analytics and Data Management Team. I am serving as requirement analyst and statistical programmer of EBS Breeding Analytics domain. On behalf of my co-developers in BA team, I would like to share with you the latest updates in breed analytics within EBS.
Julie, can you please give an access to Aline?
Aline is actually controlling the screen already.
Thanks, Julie. So the Phenotypics Analytics implements EBS Operation Analytics Phase 1, which enables the routine analysis pipeline covering data quality control, single occurrence analysis, and multi-occurrence analysis two-step approach.
Do you want me to move to the next slide?
Yes, please. So the Phenotypic Data Manager is an exploratory data analysis tool to help users assess phenotypic data like calculating statistics, detecting outliers, suppressing trait data before running desired analysis. For this quarter, here are the key improvements and fixes. We have adjusted the read and search box for each column of the data browser. We have adjusted the text of experiment and occurrence name. We have fixed bug that caused the PDM browser to crash when clicking the Expand All and Explore buttons. We also display the loading spinner when exploring the occurrence. We have improved the layout design of column and cell legends of the trait table. We have adjusted the size of Check for Updates button. We have added transaction comments beside Checks for Updates button. We remove the Close Transaction checkbox when saving. We enhance the display of occurrence warning messages. We also added model notification to inform users of errors when there are no existing trait data. For the Layout tab, we fit the layout of the generated scatter plot within the Scatter Plot tab. We also fix error in the calculation of statistics table for traits with all empty or null values. We fix the saving, retrieval, processing of terminal transactions and datasets after the API refactoring. So those are the updates for Phenotypic Data Manager. Now let's proceed with another tool from BA. We have the Breeding Analytics Analysis Request Manager, or ARM. ARM is an interface for users to facilitate the processing of analysis requests and downloading of results. For this quarter, we have displayed the creator's name, modifier's name, and modified date in the main data browser to enhance transparency and traceability. With this, we have updated several endpoints for us to be able to display the creator's name as well as the modifier's name. We have enhanced the layout of the main data table to maintain readability and usability as screen size decreases. We have refactored ARM main browser pagination to limit the number of page links displayed for large record counts, enhancing UI clarity and performance. We have aligned the request analysis button with the ARM title for consistent user experience across tools. We have added refresh button in the ARM data browser for instant job and results updates. We also added tooltip support to display messages related to request and job status when the status is canceled. We set analysis request status to canceled when it encounters an error during generation of jobs. We have revised the run SOA LMM.R function that reorders the computation of standard error and weights to ensure that no negative weights will be computed. So this is under a new package referred as EBS Analytics. We also have improved the layout and position of buttons above the analysis request tabs for better accessibility. to ensure that heat map and residual plots stay within top view container, even on small screens. We reposition the pagination to the bottom of the screens for job lists and tables across various tabs to ensure consistent stability during screen adjustment. So this includes the table of residuals, analysis parameters, as well as the prediction tables. Next, we have fixed internal server error encountered when updating job status and adding request outputs. For MOA, we prevent displaying occurrences without analyzed traits and analysis request jobs. We have fixed filtering issue to accurately display data by program in ARM main data browser, single occurrence analysis, and multi-occurrence analysis databases. So the key features that is developed within this quarter is the connection of EBS with BioFlow. So here's the outline or the workflow for the interoperability between EBS and BioFlow. So for this quarter, we have implemented the pushing of phenotypic data for single trial analysis from EBS to BioFlow. Those in the red box are basically the workflow when we push phenotypic data from EBS to BioFlow. For this quarter, we have started implementing pushing the data into BioFlow for single trial analysis. So currently, we are until the second row for the implementation. So the entry point for the connection between BioFlow and EBS is via the ARM. So we have updated the UI for initial implementation. So basically, user would go through making a request starting from a request analysis, so single occurrence analysis. And the newest addition here is the submit button, submit dropdown. For the submit dropdown, we now have two options. We have analysis within EBS and analysis to BioFlow. If user clicks BioFlow, it will be redirected to the analysis request manager where two additional analysis request status has been introduced. We have the processing status as well as the exported status. If you have an export analysis status, there are two icons that will be displayed in that particular row. First is export our data to BioFlow. Next is the downloading of the R data. When user clicks the export R data to BioFlow, user is expected to be rerouted to the BioFlow page. So if you are logged in to the BioFlow and you have already signed in or submitted the token, you will be automatically redirected to this page informing you that you are now ready to perform the single trial analysis in BioFlow. But again, this particular procedure hasn't been implemented and hoping we can implement this on the first quarter of 2025. So for BioFlow, so the one CGR biometrical genetics workflow or BioFlow is a pipeline that has been built to access methods for understanding or using evolutionary forces, such as automatic state-of-the-art genetic evaluation in decision-making. This software was designed to be database agnostic. It can retrieve data from available phenotypic pedigree databases like EBS, BMS, breed-based, genotypic databases like GIGWA, and environmental databases like NASA Power, and carry analytical procedures. This software was developed by one CGBA composed of biometrician, bioinformatics, and quantitative geneticists from different centers. So here are the available menus or an analysis that can be performed in BioFlow. So aside from accessing BioFlow via ARM, you can access EBS in BioFlow. So under the data management, user can click retrieve data. From there, user will be asked about the data source, and there are three options. You have the upload file, the copy URL, and the BRAPI. So another way to access EBS is through BRAPI. Okay. So next is user will be asked to identify the database as well as the URL the production instance of their institute to access the data in the EBS. So that's it for the connection of EBS to BioFlow. So next is the molecular data analysis. So MDA implement key analytical pipelines for supported molecular analysis and link to appropriate reporting templates. So this slide summarizes the integrated end-to-end process in EBS, which also shows the interconnectivity between the different domains in EBS, from core breeding to service management to breeding analytics. The process starts with the creation of experiment, then selection of samples, which then is the basis for creating a list. Then users will submit requests via request manager from service management. A team will process the request by batch and create sampling plan. The team then submit these samples to our vendors for genotyping. Once the results are available, vendors send the genotypic data back to the team. The team then later uploads this data to Gig1. Users can retrieve the data in MDA, which is a tool in BA. From MDA, user can clean the genotypic data and depending on the purpose, performs further analysis. So under Request Manager, to enhance communication within service requests, we have integrated EBS messaging capabilities. User can now write to and view messages directly associated with a service request, mirroring this messaging logic in the shipment workflow. This features aims to streamline communication and ensure users can easily access and manage their messages, fostering better collaboration and efficiency. For Batch Manager, we have enhanced the rules engine by creating names for batches, plates, and samples. Batch status column was also added. New system printouts, including a file to transfer information to the service portal. Under molecular data analysis, or MDA under the breed analytics, filtering samples and markers by call rate threshold. So by default, the threshold for samples is 95%, while for markers, you also have 95%. We have improved the layout and styling of the toolbar. That's the toolbar. Then tab panels for excluded sample and excluded markers was also added. We have corrected the reset button to revert the sample and market call rates to their default values. We have replaced instances of germ blossom terms to samples for clarity. Next, exporting genotype data table can be in the format of CSV as well as text file. We have updated display of marker call rate below each marker column. We also have included the marker call rate in exported genotype request data. We have provided option to remove slash from nucleotide call display. Then, depending on the request, we have enabled the the analysis request button. So currently, only the parental purity testing as well as hybridity testing as a purpose, user can see this particular button. So for parental purity analysis, we have implemented this selecting test type. So currently what is implemented is the internal purity testing. User can view the results as well of the parental purity and view their statistics. We can export the results as well as statistics of parental purity analysis. We have navigation buttons for parental purity analysis page, and we have included consensus haplotype in both exported file and display data table for parental purity analysis. Another new analysis that we can view in our clean-in MDA is the hybridity verification, or F1 hybridity. So this is a view of your testing results. So that's it for the updates from MDA. I'll turn you over to Marco.
Thanks, Elaine. Hello again. That was a long list of improvements that has been done, and a couple of new tools like Breeding Program Manager and Harvest Manager. And then, as you could see, we are focusing heavily on the molecular analytics. With the recent launch of the BioFlow, we will not focus anymore on the phenotypic analysis. The BioFlow will handle that part, but we will facilitate the data transfer through interoperability. So that was what Elaine just mentioned. And the utilization of genotype data in decision making is the name of the game in the molecular analytics. And you could see that we have a couple of new tools on that as well. But there are some other couple of other things that I want to mention before we go. So we can go to the next slide, please. So for existing applications that we have, for example, inventory manager and search, there are some minor improvements, but one major improvement that was requested, especially from CIMMIT side, was that the regular user should be able to update the quantity of seeds. Up until now, only the admin users have been able to do that. So we implemented the integrated role-based access control to the inventory manager, and now admin can create a role that has permissions to update the quantities, and then assign that role to a person whose job is actually do that. Next slide, please. Then in germplasm manager, we have the first version of the coding tool. With coding, we mean that in certain breeding stages, the germplasm gets new names. For example, when it's decided that this germplasm is fixed, a fixed line name is assigned. So that's the coding for in EBS terms. So we have a first version of that tool that allows the authorized users to assign new names. In addition to that, we designed and gathered the requirements for the other use cases that we identified, or together with the data managers, and we are ready to develop them as well. When remains to be seen. Next slide, please. So in addition to that, engineering is always full of maintenance. And this slide just highlights a little bit about that there has been several technical improvements in the backend that doesn't show up to the end users at all. It just means that we are doing the maintenance work, updating the libraries that we are using so that there are no security holes. And it can also improve the stability of the system and whatnot. So general improvements, there's a bunch of them that has been also implemented as part of these latest releases that we have done. But I think that's my last slide, and I turn over to Jack.
Thank you, Marco. Good day, everyone. My name is Jack Lagare. I lead the Solutions Enablement function of Digital Solutions. This is also formerly known as the Internal Services team. To support continuous improvement of the enterprise breeding system, we have been working with different domains, namely core breeding, breeding analytics, core system, and service management, to start utilizing event-driven architecture for relevant services in the system. Next slide, please. All right. So event-driven architecture is something you don't see, as Marco alluded to earlier. We have a lot of back-end improvements, and this is one of them. So event-driven architecture, or EDA, is simply a design that depends on specific events to perform specific actions. So for example, if you upload a file to the system, that's the event. So what happens to that file is the actual action. So that's how this works. And the reason why we are investing on utilizing this model is it saves costs, because by doing or by using event-driven architecture, there's no need to leave servers or compute resources running when unused. So for example, going back to what I said earlier, if you're not uploading files, then there's no point in having a process that does something to the file running all the time. Okay. And another thing is, by utilizing this, we are expecting better performance and scalability. So if suddenly the demand goes high, we don't need to worry anymore about whether we need to start running additional servers. It will take care of this automatically. So as of now, we have made progress in working with different domains. For EBS breeding analytics, we have a couple of multiple we have multiple production workloads running already. So Alain mentioned earlier uh, some improvements in analysis. So behind that is also event-driven architecture, and then Giselle also mentioned about experiment design. That's also event-driven architecture. And for core breeding, we have completed a proof of concept for deleting experiments. So this is a very good example where event-driven architecture is relevant, is because you don't delete experiments all the time. Furthermore, deleting experiments takes a lot of time. There is a lot of steps going on. So it's better that we utilize this kind of design. And last but not the least is the EBS service management. So what we have done here as a proof of concept is to move the genotyping file upload to an event-driven architecture. So there's a lot of opportunities to use this model for other EBS components, leading to an enhanced user experience and operational excellence. Hence, the work will continue next year. Thank you, and back to you, Judy.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you everybody for a great presentation. We would like to remind you that you can access the enterprise breeding system through Breeding Resources Service Request Portal. You have the URL there at the top of the last slide. And we also would like to remind you that you can follow us on social media, on LinkedIn and X, to get latest updates on the enterprise breeding system, but also all the other activities of breeding resources and genetic innovation more generally. Breeding Resources also has a website, which is hosted on cgir.org under initiatives, Breeding Resources, where you can find all the latest information about our activities, events, documents, pieces of analysis, etc. So we now have some time for questions. I'm going to open the chat. From what I could see during the presentation, some questions have already been addressed by the team. Yeah, by Marco, I think, and Bruce, and other people on the team, Alain as well. So I don't see any unanswered questions in the chat, but correct me if I'm wrong, please. Does anybody want to ask a question directly to our team? If you do, please unmute yourself or raise your hand so we know who wants to ask a question. Or you can keep adding them to the chat if you feel more comfortable. Oh, yeah, there is one that just arrived. So I'm going to read it out loud. It's a question from David who's asking, you mentioned that EBS is operational in Ethiopia. Can you tell me who's using it in Ethiopia? I don't know if this is the data that we have. If anybody from the team is able to come in and say and give information about operations in Ethiopia.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but May, do you have more information about that? It was in the beginning of the presentation on the gas slides.
Okay, so for my list here, it doesn't show anyone from rice instance, so it's most likely in for the wheat and the maize instances.
Okay. So thank you. So we only have information, unfortunately, for now for rice. We can come back to you when we have contacted the maize and wheat teams. Thanks for the question. And we have another question about the test cross nursery. Can we upload only harvested plots information rather than selecting only harvested plots? I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry, it's early morning for me. I have only had 5 cups of coffee. But could you explain a little bit more about that? Because maybe we can provide a sensible answer to that.
So this is a question from Nagesh Patne. If you want to unmute yourself and provide more information for Marco and the team to address your question. Please don't be shy.
Yeah, I can hear vaguely somebody talking, but it's very, very vague.
Yeah, I can see that Nagesh unmuted. We cannot hear you. Can you speak louder?
Hear me?
Yes, now we can. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Recently we had uploaded a test cross nursery in the EBS. Okay. So then while uploading the data, because we had almost 1,000 plots we harvested, and I could not find any uploads for that information. We have to select individual plot. Like in a selfing nursery, I could upload the data, Excel sheet or whatever that we download, and we can upload. Okay, this plot is selected, this plot is selected, and this plot is rejected. But in the cross nursery, like test cross nursery, it is not available. So we have to individually select plot. It was very hectic for me to select, okay, these, and it has to select in the system, not in the outside the, like in selfing nursery, we used to do in whatever we collect the data information in a digital form, we can upload in self nursery. But in a cross nursery, this test cross nursery, we can't do that. So is there any way?
I think I understand. So my understanding is that in Cross Manager, we have integrated the data collection as part of that. Is anybody in the call that has been involved in that? But my understanding is that it is possible to also to collect data traits on cross lists, if this is the case.
Okay, maybe I can answer the question. So if
Thanks,
you
May.
if you refer to the plot data on those test crosses, yeah, it's visible. But if you refer to crosses data that's uploaded in the system, it's not yet visible, but it is possible, Nagesh. So for the visibility of the test cross data getting uploaded and shown, that's already been submitted as a feature request. So it's clear, Nagesh?
Yeah, I think that Nagesh said a thank you in the chat.
Thanks, May. I think, and then if the answer is not clear, just reach out on the service portal, then we can continue from there, and I'm sure we find a solution for the problem. Do we have EBS operational in Uganda? Based on the slide number 12, we don't. But Herman, thank you for clarifying that. Excellent. So I'm just going to read the Herman's message. We have created the program for DCP sorghum fingernet groundnut partners in Uganda. Lovely.
So there is another question from David, who's asking whether the team could clarify if the migration tools from BMS to a new EBS is completed.
Hi, David. Yes, it's completed, but not yet automated, but it's completed. So there's still in the loading part, there's still some that are done as a curation and not as a part of the NiFi yet. But it's transformations are completed for BMS.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Now a question from Vive, who's asking in terms of prioritization, if there is a timeline for the release of shipment outgoing ERI.
Hi, Vivek. Nice to see you. The last that I have talked with Connie, who's also in the call, I think, with the cryptic name with K. Anyway, the intention was that in January there would be a data migration exercise done, and then put the outgoing shipment operational during the Q1. But I think that everybody is a little bit busy with the end of the year activities, so we come back that on early January.
Okay, thank you, Marco. So I don't see any other questions unanswered in the chat. Does anybody from the crowd want to ask a question directly to the team or in the chat? If not, we can give participants back almost 20 minutes, which is great.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for joining. It's our pleasure to talk with our work for so many people, and the work continues next year. We wish you all happy holidays until then, and we see you again next year. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I-expect ko
everything to all ko na.